Hey y'all, it's y'all favorite cozy girl, Chi the Reality Queen, and I am back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. As you can see, I got a new robe, so we are going to be doing new things. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I have been watching this show from the beginning, but for some reason, I just didn't feel like recapping it. I think last season just pissed me off so bad when I actually started recapping shows that I just decided to skip it overall. But we're here and it's back and I'm gonna do it. Just to start off, I am so sad that Jen Shaw is in jail. I know she did bad things. I know a lot of you guys hate her, but she was good television. Teresa went to jail, she back. That's what I'm hoping for her. Fingers crossed. But that doesn't mean she's not talked about this season, because the way it seems to me, these housewives can't keep her name out of their mouth. Anyways, I know I missed the first episode. I don't know why I thought this season started this week and not last week, so I'm behind. So tonight we're gonna actually recap episode 1 and episode 2. So let's just kick things off. This episode starts off, or episode 1 starts off with Heather on the phone or something, and I think she's talking about Jen Shaw, because why not? Jen Shaw is the most important thing that happened to this show, whether she's in jail or not. And then we get 2 new girls this season. Obviously, we lost Jen, we lost Mary before, so they do have to replace them. They got 2 new girls. We haven't been introduced to them just yet, but we see them in the trailer. We see them in the little intro song, so we know they're there. Lisa is planning Sundance. She's the Sundance queen. She says she's been doing it like 14, 15 years. And she finds out that her son Jack is going on a mission for 2 years instead of going to college. And apparently Jack just kept it secret all the way up until he basically couldn't keep it secret anymore, and then he had to tell his parents. But I don't know anything about the Mormon religion, so I will mind my business on that topic. I literally have no opinion on him going on the mission because I don't know anything about it. But I will say that I feel like in previous seasons, he told his mom he wasn't going to college, or he didn't want to. Yes, he alluded to the fact that it was because he had a business, but he kind of made it clear that he did not want to go to college. Again, I don't know what other conversations they had off camera, but on camera, it pretty much seemed that he had no intentions of going to college, or at least right away. One thing I will say is she's talking to her husband in the car about Jack and the situation, and I think I stand by the fact that when the housewives are talking about or to their kids, those happen to be some of their most authentic moments. But something about Lisa's moment was a little, because she's crying, tearing up, and I believe that because she's gonna miss her kid. That's very normal. But then when her husband starts to talk, she's like, oh wait, hold on, they're messaging me. I gotta get back to this. I'm like, girl, is you sad and trying to have a conversation, or are you working? And I know she does a lot of multitasking, but it's like, I don't know. Then Heather bought a new house. Shout out to her. She's been doing big things. I like Heather. Heather has consistently been one of my faves. I think she has a lot of faults, but she's likable, right? There's people that, no one's perfect, right? So she has a lot of faults, but she's still a very likable housewife. She invites Meredith over to chat, which is kind of shocking. I can't remember what happened at the season finale or in the reunion, but I didn't know her and Meredith was cool like that. And she was asking Meredith to help shovel her driveway. I'm like, Meredith is not that person to assist you in shoveling your driveway. First of all, why are you shoveling your driveway? I mean, shout out to her for doing the hard work, but it's like, please pay somebody. Because why are you doing it in heels? Very, set up. You could have at least been wearing snow boots. And the thing about Heather is she is a girly who be putting on the snow boots. So to be shoveling your yard in heels seemed silly. They met, and Meredith's like, oh, I don't really trust Whitney because she was doing a radio interview and she was talking about me and how taking baths with my husband is nasty because the bath is dirty and your DNA is shedding or whatever. And the whole time Heather is like, she's serious or is she joking? Because to me, She sounded serious, but she had to be joking because, girl, you talking about somebody talking about you taking a bath. Like, why does it matter? Why is this a concern? I don't know. It just seems so silly. But with Meredith, I feel like a lot of her beefs are silly. I mean, besides Lisa calling her an effing whore and saying she's sleeping with half of New York, every other beef just seemed very manufactured and silly to me. I could be wrong. Yeah. Mary is back. That's the face I have to give to Mary being back. She doesn't have a snowflake, but she is here as a friend of to Meredith. I'm not a fan of her. I don't think I ever been, and I think her wigs are bad. I think she makes too much money to have bad wigs. That's weird to me. Like, you're very rich, very posh, and your wigs are bad? The math is not mathing on that. Like, 1 + 1 does not equal 3, ma'am. It's weird. It's weird. I know it's Utah, so maybe there's not black people, but they're bad. I mean, you could just slap a wig on, right? Like, slap it on. I slap wigs on. They don't be perfect, but I be slapping them on, and they be looking better than what the heck Mary got going on. But yeah, she is immediately trying to talk about Jen, ask questions about Jen, because she's obsessed with Jen. Even though she said she smells like hospital. It's weird. I don't like Mary. I don't think they should have brought her back as a friend of. I know a lot of people really, really like her, but whatever. Angie K, who was Jen's frenemy, I don't know what they were. They gave her a snowflake. Not really a fan of her either. It's funny because I think the series will be okay. I don't think it'll be as good as it was with Jen, but I think it'll be okay. But to give Angie a snowflake, I was like, Angie K, I don't know. And she meets up with the new housewife who is named Monica. She's something in Portuguese. I probably should have paid more attention, but she spoke more Portuguese, I think, on the show, so that stuck to me. And they also met up with Lisa, and Monica said she was a witness for the federal government for the Jen Shaw trial. She said that when she met Jen Shaw came up with some ruse for her to make $600K a year, and she thought it was like fishy. She didn't really like it. She was supposed to be Jen's assistant, or she stepped in as her assistant, and Jen gave her this idea of how to make $600K. She said she had a friend at the Secret Service. She called said friend, and the friend was like, stay away from Jen Shaw. She's going to jail. And 2 months later, Jen Shaw was arrested. Now, that math also doesn't add up. How is it that you met Jen Shaw 2 months prior, but in the time that you knew Jen Shaw, she used to sit and let you talk to Lisa all the time, but you only knew her for like 2 months? I need someone to do the math on that. And I understand that the federal government be letting other people go to get bigger fish or whatever, but Monica, you're lying. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, that story is not true. You might have not been super close with her, or you might not have known her that long, but there's no way you met her and 2 months later she was arrested for all the other stuff to be true. Right? Or am I tripping? It just doesn't make any sense. Monica is low-key funny. I kind of like her. But I didn't realize that she didn't really know. Like, she's friends with Angie K through Jen, and she had never met Lisa, but she spoke to Lisa on the phone. So, like I said, her story is a little off. Yeah, and you know, she's just off to me. Heather has a fresh start party. She says that she told Meredith earlier that she was throwing it with Whitney, but then when the party came, it seemed like Heather was throwing it by herself. But anyways, Heather's throwing this party so everybody can have a fresh start. You know how it is on Bravo. People throw fake parties just to get that group together in a setting. You know, but I like them. Again, I am not opposed to the fake parties. I am all here for the fake parties because they do fun things and drama happens. So I'm not saying that is a problem. But yes, they're having this fresh start party so everybody can kind of come renew their friendships and come back together. Whitney is upset that Mary is there. I think the last time they spoke, she called her a little girl, because that's how Mary looks when she talks, like a fool. And Monica is now talking a lot of shit about Jen, and it's weird because, babe, we've never seen you before, but you seem to know everything about Jen and you talking hella shit. Ma'am, no. It's never good to come in with that energy, in my opinion, because it's like you're talking all the shit because she's behind bars. What happens when she gets out? I mean, she probably won't beat your ass because she'll be on parole, but I would have someone beat your ass. Like, what? Yeah, so apparently Mary and Lisa haven't talked recently. The last time they had an interaction, Mary left a very nasty text message to Lisa. And when she read it outside, she was like, it was not so nice. Like, girl, that was downright rude. Like, it was so, I wish I could insert the clip, but YouTube doesn't let me. But the text message was so rude. I was like, Mary, you're supposed to be a church-going woman or a pastor or a priest or whatever the hell she is. It's weird. They talk about Heather's book. No one's read it. I mean, I don't think anybody has to read your book to end up on the bestseller list. I think you buy your way onto the bestseller list. If someone could prove me wrong, I would love to find that out. Like, how do you get on the bestseller list? It seems like something you can buy. I don't even know people who really read books. I mean, I read books all the time, but hey, shit, who knows? Meredith confronts Whitney, and honestly, it was such a weird confrontation. Like, I genuinely watched that confrontation like, those were my eyes. Like, I was like, wow, okay, this is very awkward. Meredith, like, okay, Whitney says it's a joke. It was just like a little shady joke, and it probably was just that, like, but the way you're taking it, she's like, you cannot talk about my husband, my bath, you think I'm dirty. Like, with Meredith, everything's off limits. Like, okay, kids are off limits, your husband's off limits, your bath is off limits, your house is off limits. Like, speaking of house, Meredith has had a new house every season of this show, or a new rental, which is kind of weird in itself, but they haven't really discussed that. But Wendy did make some little shade towards it. And then they have a little snowball fight to kind of like end the episode, and it looked really fun. And Monica like tackled Angie K, and I'm like, okay, you could tell where her class level is, and it's beneath the rest of them. Mary didn't even join in on the snowball fight because, you know, she's above them. She doesn't do things like that. I really genuinely don't know why she's there. Like, just so nasty of a human being. But again, that's my personal opinion. Like I said, I read Twitter, and everybody not everybody, but a lot of people seem to really like her, and they're happy she's back. So you know what? I support you guys too. I support Mary. So let's just see how this season goes. So moving on to episode 2, because that episode ends with the snowball fight. Episodes 2 starts, oh, I forgot, because at the end of that episode, before it ends, Meredith tells Lisa that she wants, oh, was it at the beginning of season 2? Episode 2? Either way, she meets up with Lisa, and she says she really wants to talk with her and meet with her one-on-one and kind of just bury the hatchet. And I'm shocked because she has been dragging their beef one whole season. And again, what Lisa said was pretty effed up, so I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it did seem, I feel like Meredith can hold a grudge. Like, she can really and truly drag out her anger and her hate for somebody, and it's just like, girl, give me a break. I'm somebody like that, like, not that holds grudge. I'm somebody opposite of that, in that, like, after about 2 days, if I see you more, I'm like, I don't even want to be mad, because it takes too much energy. I would never be a good housewife. I mean, I would be a good housewife because I pop off real quick, but I wouldn't really be mad that long because I just get over it. I can't stay angry long term. Like, my spirit is like, I'm over it. Even when I want to be mad, I'll be like, oh, I should be mad at her or whatever. And I'll just be like, not a big deal. But yeah, And so, yeah, they end up reconciling. They meet up, they take a walk. It seems like everything is good. Lisa's a little, it seems like that situation went well. It happens later, but whatever. Heather meets with Whitney. It seems like they're kind of heading back into the direction of being bad weather again. They're cousins, hopefully they can come to some sort of agreement because, it is kind of weird them not being cool. But I find Whitney to be so insufferable that I can see why Heather has a problem hanging out with her or dealing with her, because she'll lie and just be like, I didn't lie. That's the truth. Okay, you lied. That's how I feel about Whitney, but that's my personal opinion. She's talking about Angie K, and Whitney's like, oh, I kind of like her. Heather's talking about Angie K, and Whitney's like, oh, I kind of like her. Apparently, Angie K and Heather went to school together. They were friends in high school. Apparently, they had some falling out. They dropped those high school pics, and Angie has had surgery. Because honestly, before Angie told us that she was Greek, I thought Angie was Asian. And maybe that's wrong, but I thought she looked Asian, and I think that was the surgery, because in high school she didn't look like that. She looked completely different. Heather actually looked very pretty to me. She looked like a pretty girl to me in high school. I think she got a lot of surgery that kind of didn't agree with her face. Yeah. And it was weird. So Heather had brought up the fact to Whitney that she heard Lisa talking about her son's mission, but she didn't want to tell Heather. And Whitney had a point that I found to be very correct. She doesn't have to tell you. It's not your business. It's not your place to be worried about what she does, what her husband does, what her kids does, because that's his walk with his religion. And I agree with that. Whatever her son's walk with their religion is his walk. It may not match his parents. You don't have to match your parents. You do what works for you. So I agree with Whitney on that. They need to let that go. Seth and Meredith seem to be in a really good place in their marriage, which we know they were kind of shaky before, especially with Seth always traveling. I don't know if he's still traveling like he was, but yeah. They're trying to plan a podcast. I don't think I care what they have to say, but someone might, right? So just like people may not care what I have to say, but some people do, right? And that's how it works. Meredith is planning a trip to Palm Springs for the girls. She is deliberately not inviting Angie K. She doesn't like her, so Heather is excited about that. Then we get to meet Angie, her family. And Angie is married to a hairstylist, or I think that's what he is. And they own a bunch of salons and a cosmetology school, which I think is pretty cool. Monica, like I said, she's Portuguese. She has 4 girls, and she lives close to her mom and her grandma. She was married, and now she's divorced and a single mom. And she starts crying to her mom about how she went to the Louis store and bought a purse because she wanted to fit in with the other girls. And honestly, I don't think Monica is poor, but I think Monica is poorer than all the other housewives. And I think that Andy Cohen has Monica there because she knew Jen and she was the snitch, not because she should be there. Sorry. I hate to say it. I think they literally have her there just so they can constantly tie in Jen while Jen is in prison and act like nobody cares that Jen is gone. Like Heather is, oh, I'm so happy, I'm free, it's great. Girl, you halfway in tears every time somebody brings up Jen's name. That's your girl. Whether she was mean to you or not, you like her. All these people are obsessed with her. Monica is here just to kind of be that stand-in for Jen because she knows her so well. These people, you're punching above your weight class, sweetie. That's what Monica is doing. She's funny, she's entertaining, but she's punching above her weight class. She don't got the money they got. You crying because you bought a Louis to fit in? Baby, you should not be on this Housewives show. Sorry, Andy. I think you made a mistake here. Well, or maybe people are gonna like that realness of someone who is more in their class. I guess. I don't know. I prefer watching rich people have problems, not people like me. I don't want to relate to y'all. I just want y'all to have y'all problems on y'all own. But yeah, so, and it also made sense because I was like, why is she here if she was once Jen's assistant? That just seemed like such a far leap. But then it made sense. So Whitney tells Angie that Meredith is planning a trip to Palm Springs, and Angie's like, oh, I wasn't invited. This is when Angie and her husband and Whitney and her husband meet up, and she invites her to come to Palm Springs. I'm like, Whitney, you're just here to be messy. You're literally Ashley Darby. That is you in white, and Ashley Darby is half white. So y'all really the same. But you're Ashley Darby of Salt Lake City. Ashley Darby is Ashley Darby of Potomac. Like, y'all the same. Y'all just think of what's the messiest thing you could do today, and that's what you do. You like say, should I turn left or should I turn right? Right is messy, left is normal, and you go right. And you just gonna keep going right till you get back into a circle because you want to be as messy as possible. And don't get me wrong, I feel like it is a group trip, so Angie should go, but it's messy. But yeah, so it's funny because while they're talking, Angie's like, I'm surprised she didn't invite me. I lent her all these stylists for her fashion show and they lost so much revenue. And this is very reminiscent of what she said about Jen Shah last season. I feel like Angie does favors for people so she can hold it against them later on. I do not think she is a genuinely nice person. I do not think she does genuine favors. I think she does stuff so she can use people later on or say like, oh, I did this for you. Why didn't you do anything for me? Or I did this for you. What do I get in return? That is what I think, because it was literally the exact same conversation she had about Jen Shah. And that's why Jen Shah showed up to that party with the check. Like, B word here, I'm done with you. Don't mention shit again, you know? Because that's what it seems like. She seems like, I have money and I'm going to toss it around and toss around my favors and influence so I can turn around and get something from these people later on. It's very nasty. Nice nasty, right? That's who she is. She's nice nasty. That's what I think about Angie Kidd. So then Monica meets up with Heather to go shopping just so they can kind of get to know each other before this trip. Probably because Heather notices that Monica's a little tacky, poor, and she's trying to like get her to the level of where the other girlies are. She's like, I want you to fit in clothing wise when we get in front of these girls. And I think like that was nice of Heather because I think, you know, Monica really doesn't fit in. She's not really that girl. And I think Heather really wasn't early on. Like, I think since doing the show, since getting, you know, out there and being able to open up another beauty lab, she now is able to kind of chew with the big dogs, you know. But before, Heather was a little, you know, a little low as well, you know. They looked at her as kind of the low class one, the poorer one, you know. She was living in a smaller house. She didn't really have money to, you know, buy fancy things like that. Jen was buying a lot of stuff for her. So I think it was a little different. And that's probably why she reached out to Monica the way she did and wanted to take her shopping, which I thought was nice. And she tells her, Heather tells Monica, that she doesn't really like Angie K and she's happy that Meredith didn't invite her. And I was like, why would you say that? Because Angie K is Monica's literal only friend. But I've noticed on The Housewives, the person who brings you in or pretends to bring you in doesn't always end up being your friend. Because if we remember, Candace on Potomac was brought in, I believe, by Robin. I'm almost positive that's what happened. And as we can see, they not really that cool like that. Or no, she wasn't. Was it Wendy was brought in by Robin? Someone was brought in by Robin, and then they ended up not really being that cool, or they were okay, but you know. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's your closest friend, but you know, that's who brought her in. And so I think Heather talking shit about Angie K to Monica is a little weird. She's talking about how she knew her in high school and they fell out. I want to know what really happened, because knowing somebody in high school, people change, you know, things happen, people change, life changes, experience changes you. So I do wonder what happens, but I feel like Heather seems to have such bad experiences with everybody. And I think maybe because at that time in high school and in college, she was a little bit more judgy. And now that she's different, I don't know, because she had known Lisa before too, and she had bad feelings about Lisa, feeling like, oh, Lisa thought she was better than me. And I'm like, I feel that Heather allows her feelings about herself to be casted on other people. Like she feels what she feels about herself is what other people also feel about her. And maybe those people don't have those feelings about her, but that's unfortunately what low self-esteem does for you. And I think Heather has bouts with bouts with low self-esteem. And so when she sees these girls who are like the pretty girl or the popular girl or the cool girl, she still has this little animosity towards them. And that's why she has problems with Lisa, or now has problems with Angie K. Even if I don't care for Angie K, you could tell she's kind of like the cool girl. She always has the coolest shades, coolest outfits, like, you know. So I think it's a little, it's inner, but she projects, right? And that's where Heather is. That's her problem. But yeah, so Monica, she asked Monica like, oh, I didn't know you were religious. Are you Mormon? This and that. And Monica's like, yeah, I used to be Mormon, but I got excommunicated because I was sleeping with my brother-in-law. And so she slept with her husband's sister's husband for 18 months. And she felt guilty, so she told the church on herself. I don't know why she was a fool, but she did. And they excommunicated her from the church. Silly. Guilt will never consume me like that, but I'm also not Mormon, so I don't have to worry about that, about being excommunicated. You know, some church, you just got to go and ask for forgiveness or say some Hail Marys or whatever, and you'll be good. So I don't know if I could deal with all that judgment. Not saying I do things like that, but, you know, I don't know if I could deal with it. But yeah, then, you know, they go cut to Mary, who's in her house with her son, who's supposedly married. She mentioned that before. And I'm like, girl, what do you mean you don't get to talk to him? You sit right here with him on camera, and your husband's nowhere to be found per usual. That old man, your grandpa, your ex-grandpa. And she calling the motel, asking if they have Dom Perignon. A motel. It's called motel. It's not even a hotel. Like, why would you think they got Dom? Then you're asking about their food options, and you're shocked that it's just pizza and like little things like that. Like, I just feel like she's so unnecessarily bougie for her hair to look so crazy in almost every scene she's in. The only time she don't look crazy is in confessional. Ma'am, your day-to-day life, you look so crazy, and you this bougie? I would think that you'd have a glam squad with you at all times, like Jen Shaw, to make sure you don't look crazy the way you be talking about people. It's just, it doesn't add up. Doesn't add up to me at all. But yeah, so she was like, ugh, about the motel, but whatever. Then they all meet at the airport. Whitney has texted Meredith that, oh, I'm gonna go separate. But she doesn't say when. She actually wants to get there earlier than everybody else, raggedy. But she wants to get there early so she can fly in with, what's her name, Angie K. So she does that. All the other girls are at the airport and they fly together. And Meredith was like, if this was gonna be like a little togetherness trip, it's raggedy that y'all not here at the airport with us, which is true. But she can't be at the airport because she went and invited somebody who wasn't invited. But anyway, so they're already at the Trixie Motel, and apparently Whitney knew Trixie from before. But everybody else is traveling together. That's Heather, Meredith, Lisa, Monica, and Angie, and Mary. And it's actually crazy because I feel like every other trip they've taken, Meredith has like not wanted to travel with them. So it was kind of nice to see Meredith actually traveling with them. Unless she really was tipped off about Jen Shaw being arrested, because then it's like, But either way, yeah. It was nice to see them all travel together because I don't think we've seen that. But it didn't end up working because Whitney went on her own. When they land in Palm Springs, Lisa claims to have lost her $60,000 ring. I do not wear jewelry, so I cannot tell you the price of any item of jewelry ever. But she claims that it's $60K. No one really believes her. Monica is over here searching for it high and low. Heather's hiding in the restroom because she don't want to search for it. She said it slipped off as she was pulling up her pants. And I just feel like it happened so quick for the ring to really be missing. I genuinely feel either she wants to make an insurance claim and she probably wanted it to be on TV or something like that, or someone stole it that quick. And that's possible too, because it's like, but you saw it fall or you heard it fall and you didn't see nobody pick it up. So where did it go? I don't know. That situation was very weird, but they all helped her look for it except for Heather. And I don't know. I'm iffy. Like I said, sometimes Lisa be doing things and I'd be like, because that would be good, right? The cameras don't go into the restroom. You have evidence that you were wearing it. And then you claim that it's $60,000. Maybe it's insured for $60,000. And then you make a claim that it was stolen or lost in a very public manner that a bunch of people saw. Right. Who knows? But yeah. So now they get into the bus and they start driving towards the Trixie Motel. And Angie K and Whitney are there. They're swimming. They're doing all this stuff. And Trixie gives them a tour of the home. And Whitney's like, oh, I want to take the master, like the biggest room. Everybody knows the rules of Housewives trips is whoever plans the trip gets the biggest space if they want it. So for Whitney to show up early and then try to joke that she's going to take that space, I'm like, you're raggedy. She is raggedy. I mean, she's raggedy. So it's just who she is at her core. But yeah, so then the girls show up to the house and they're having trouble getting in. And Whitney and Angie are like, oh my God, they're here. And that's where the episode cuts off. I know that it's going to be drama because obviously they showed the little clips of the next episode and it looks like it's going to be smoke in the city. I don't think right away. I think everybody has enough decorum to pretend like, oh, haha, you're here. What the fuck happened? Oops, excuse my language. But they're going to be like, what happened? How'd you get here? Who let you here? But I do think eventually Angie's going to say stuff or do stuff that's going to piss everybody off and they're just not going to like it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not as excited for this season as I would have been if Jen was here, but I don't think that this season is going to be bad. And I'm hoping it's not bad. My fingers are crossed. I do feel like there's a lot of inauthentic drama. Like I feel like people are trying to be drama filled to kind of fill that role of who Jen Shaw was, because Jen Shaw, as we know, she was rowdy. She was a little crazy, right? But we loved it. Well, at least I did. And I feel like there are people now trying to fill that role by trying to be messy and get upset about things and be a little bit more angry and drama filled. And it's like, is that really who you are? Or are you just trying to make sure your snowflake stays? I don't know. We're going to have to see how this season goes without Jen to really determine if she is needed. But so far, her presence is missed. And hopefully she gets out in like 2 years, so she'll be back by season 6. Fingers crossed. I know some of y'all are upset. I'm sorry, y'all. I like her. I mean, she's wrong for what she did. And she's in jail, so, prison, and she's serving her time. So hopefully she comes out with a renewed heart. I doubt it. Well, a renewed heart from committing crime. Probably not from being a rowdy bee. But I'm excited for the rest of this season, and I will see you guys next time.